Why does it feel lonelier now, when life is finally quieter? You've raised children, held jobs, nursed others through their storms. You've been dependable, steady, and now the phone rings less. The mailbox is mostly quiet. You make coffee for one. The days are yours, and yet something aches. No one warned you that peace could feel this empty. You sit by the window, watching the shadows stretch across the floor like old memories. A breeze brushes the curtain. The world keeps moving, but inside, so still it almost hurts. This isn't about being alone. It's about what happens in the silence no one prepared you for. The echo of voices you don't hear anymore. The space where your identity used to live. As a parent, a partner, a provider. You wonder quietly, who am I now that I'm not needed the same way? And here's the hardest part to say out loud. Some days it's not just silence. It's the weight of being unseen. Like life went on without you and forgot to leave a note. But Buddhist wisdom offers something beautiful and rare. It doesn't tell you to stay busy or think positive. It invites you to sit with this loneliness, to see it not as a punishment, but as a path. Because somewhere inside this quiet is the door to your deepest peace. Stay with me until the end of this video. There's a truth about loneliness that almost everyone misses, especially after 65. And once you hear it, you'll never sit in silence the same way again. If this speaks to something in you, something tender, something tired, hit subscribe. We meet here every week. No need to pretend, just truth, like old friends who don't need to fill the silence. And tell me quietly just one thing. What does your loneliness sound like? A word, a memory, a whisper? Drop it in the comments. You never know. It might be the very echo someone else needs to hear. Truth 1, the hollow room of sudden stillness. Why does it get quieter just when we finally have time to talk? You spend your whole life surrounded by noise. Not just the noise of others, but the noise of being needed. Of being the one who wakes up early, the one who remembers everyone's birthday, the one who keeps the house running like a clock no one else noticed was ticking. Then one day the noise stops, not all at once. It fades. First, the morning phone calls grow fewer. The grandkids get older. Friends move or drift or disappear behind hospital curtains and closed doors. And you're still here, in the same chair by the same window. But everything feels hollow. There's this strange, aching silence. The kind that doesn't echo, because there's nothing left in the room to catch the sound. You may not talk about it. Most people don't. But deep down, you've noticed you used to live in time. Now, time lives around you. It stretches. It drips. It hangs like wet laundry on a windless day. Eleanor once told me. She's 72. I talk to the fridge magnets sometimes, just to hear a voice bounce back. And she's not crazy. She's human. Buddhist teachings describe this moment not as failure, but as transition. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha often withdrew into solitude, but not to escape others, to hear himself again. Because here's what no one tells you. The stillness you feel isn't just around you. It's asking you to listen within. But we resist it, don't we? We fill our hours with background noise, TV hum, mindless scrolling, even planning a week that no longer needs to be planned, because silence is too loud. The Buddha said, solitude is happiness for one who is content. But the first step isn't contentment. It's confronting the discomfort, the room that feels empty. That's not your punishment. It's your practice. What if that hollow space is your invitation? What if the room isn't hollow, just waiting for you to arrive? And not the version of you who fixes things, fills roles, pleases others, but the version of you that's always been buried beneath the noise. The you that simply is. Pause with me. Feel this breath. Came for you, no one else. You're not forgotten. You're being called inward. Stay with this story, because in the next truth, we'll talk about how your body already knows what to do with this silence, and why your breath might be the first doorway out of loneliness. But for now, just one question. What's the quietest moment of your day? Drop it below. It may be lonelier than you want to admit, But maybe that's the moment that can finally set you free. Truth 2, the body that carries loneliness. Your body knows, before you even name the feeling, before you admit to anyone, even to yourself, that you're lonely. Your body has already carried it for years. You feel it in the shoulders that hunch just a little more these days, in the chest that tightens for no clear reason when the house goes too quiet, in the sigh you let out when you turn off the lights and there's no good night waiting for you. Loneliness doesn't always cry. Sometimes it aches. The Buddha taught that the mind and body are not two. They are mirror and clay. What we carry in our thoughts we shape into our bones. So the weight of being unseen, unheard, unheld, it settles into posture, into breath, into how we move through the world. You walk slower now, not because you're weak, but because there's nowhere urgent to be. No voice calling your name, just a gentle hum of existence, and the body that bears it all. It's strange, isn't it? How we age not just in years, but in quiet. There's a man named Henry, 76. He told me something I'll never forget. I used to walk fast, like I was going somewhere important. Now, I walk slow, hoping to feel something important. He didn't need therapy. He needed someone to see the loneliness in his gait. But here's the quiet miracle. Buddhist practice doesn't rush to fix that ache. It listens, breath by breath. Try this, right now. Inhale slowly, as if your breath was a hand, gently reaching toward the place in you that feels most alone. Now exhale, not to release it, but to say, I see you. This is how mindfulness meets aging, not as an escape, but as an embrace. The Buddha often taught in forests, where stillness allowed even the trees to speak. And your body, now softer, slower, wiser, is no different. It speaks in aches, in pauses, in goosebumps that rise when an old memory returns uninvited. And the most surprising truth? Sometimes your body is the first to reach out to you, long before your mind is ready. It holds the loneliness gently, waiting for your awareness to catch up. So here's a small challenge for today. Place your hand over your chest. Breathe for 10 seconds. Say nothing. Just listen. Can you feel it? That slight warmth? That pulse? That's not just your heart. That's your body whispering, I'm still here. I've carried you this far. I'll carry you home. And if you've forgotten how to listen, you're not broken, just out of practice. In the next truth, we'll go deeper, into the quiet moments when you lost someone or something and didn't know what to do with the silence that followed. But before we go there, pause with me here just for a moment. What part of your body feels the silence most? Your hands? Your chest? Your back? Drop a word below. That part deserves to be seen. Truth 3, the empty chair at the table. You still set the table for one, but your eyes always land on the empty chair. Maybe it belonged to your partner. Maybe a child who moved away and calls less now. Maybe a friend who used to stop by every Thursday, like clockwork, just to sit and talk about nothing. Now that nothing is all you're left with. There's a strange kind of silence that fills a room when someone you love is no longer in it. Not loud, not sharp, just thick, like air turned into fog. You walk through it, breathe it in, and some days it wraps around your chest so tightly, even breathing feels like effort. No one prepares you for how much space a memory can take up. You open a drawer and find their handwriting. You walk into a room and instinctively call their name. Then remember, and still, you smile, softly, because even grief after a while becomes familiar, like an old dog that won't leave the porch. The Buddha once said, all that is beloved will become otherwise, will become separated from us. He didn't say it to be cruel. He said it to wake us up, gently, to the truth that all things we hold will one day be let go. And the letting go is part of the love. But that doesn't make the room feel less empty. Margaret, 70, told me, after my husband passed, I didn't cry every day, but I still made coffee for two. It took me a year to stop putting out the second cup, and even longer to forgive myself for finally stopping. She wasn't mourning a man. She was mourning a rhythm, pattern of care, the quiet music of shared life. That's what no one tells you. sometimes the grief isn't for who left, it's for who you were when they were still here. And yet, there's a Buddhist story of hope here too. One evening, a monk lit a single candle for a friend who had passed. No chanting, no ritual, just a flame, a breath. And he said, "May I become the warmth they once gave. You can do the same. Light a candle, write them a letter, even if you never send it. Say their name when the room is too quiet. That's not clinging, that's continuity. And perhaps, just perhaps, they're not gone, not fully. They've become the space that holds your silence now. They've become the stillness that stays when the conversation ends. Stay for the next truth, because it holds a promise that loneliness is not your ending. It may be your opening. But before we go, just one small offering. Whose chair is empty in your life right now? Say their name below, not to bring back the past, but to remind the present that love once sat here. Truth for a new rhythm begins. It doesn't happen all at once. No sudden burst of clarity. No grand sunrise moment. Just a slow shift, like a tide turning quietly in the dark. You don't even notice it at first. The way the silence begins to soften, the way the loneliness loses its edge, not because the world came rushing back in, but because you stopped running from yourself. That's when a new rhythm begins. Not the rhythm you had before, the packed calendar, the background noise of everyone else's needs. This is different, the slower, quieter, sometimes awkward, but undeniably yours. There's a woman named Teresa. She's 74. Her husband died 6 years ago. For the first 3, she said she couldn't stand the sound of her own footsteps. They made her feel too alone. So she kept the TV on all day, even when she wasn't watching. Then one morning, something changed. She woke up, walked to the kitchen, and realized the TV was still off. The quiet didn't sting, felt gentle, like the house was breathing with her, not against her. I started humming that morning, she told me. No song in particular, just something, just me. That's how it starts. Not with noise, but with noticing. Noticing the way the sun hits the kitchen tile at 8:42 a.m. Noticing how your breath feels different when you exhale slowly through your nose instead of rushing. Noticing how your hands, the same hands that held babies, soothed partners, washed dishes for decades, still tremble slightly when you light a candle. Not from weakness, but from presence. This noticing becomes your new rhythm. And Buddhism teaches us that this rhythm, this nowness, is the beginning of true freedom. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha describes mindfulness not as a technique, but as a way of dwelling. Dwelling in the body as it breathes. Dwelling in the mind as it moves. Not fixing, not fleeing, just being. So ask yourself, gently, what if you stopped filling the quiet? What if you let it fill you? What if this chapter of your life isn't empty, just unwritten? That's where the real shift begins. When you stop treating solitude as a condition to escape and start seeing it as soil. Soil for what? For whatever still wants to bloom in you. You're not too old to begin again. You're exactly the age where everything unnecessary has finally fallen away. And now what's left is you. Raw, honest, beautifully unfinished. You don't need to pick up a new hobby or fly to Bali or join every community group just to prove you're still alive. All you need is one real moment each day where you meet yourself without distraction. And here's something few will tell you. The world may forget to see you, but when you see yourself fully, without judgment, without needing to be productive or pleasing, you glow. You become your own lantern. So let today be the first page of a rhythm that fits your breath, not someone else's schedule. Make tea and drink it slowly. Sit by the window and let your eyes blur the edges of the world. Hug your own shoulders when you need to. Play your favorite song, just for you. Let the quiet become your music. Before we move on, I have to ask, what is one small rhythm you've reclaimed recently? Is it watering a plant? Folding your clothes slower? Saying your name out loud? Share it below. It may be small, but it may also be sacred. Because in the next truth, we're going to talk about the words you've never spoken out loud, and how holding them back might be the last barrier between you and peace. But for now, just breathe. You're doing beautifully. Truth 5, the words you never said. There are words you carry that have never been spoken out loud. They live somewhere deep, behind your ribs, between the spaces where sighs become silence. Not secrets, exactly. Not lies either. Just truths left unfinished. I forgive you. I miss you. I needed more. I wish I had stayed. Or simply, I hurt. We think silence protects us, that not saying certain things keeps the peace. But over time, those unspoken words turn into weight. They settle into your back, your jaw, the ache in your neck that no massage can loosen. Buddhist wisdom teaches that clinging isn't always to people or objects. Sometimes, we cling to our own voice, terrified of what might happen if we finally let it out. But here's the paradox. The words you've buried don't grow quieter with time. They grow roots. There's a man named Charles, 78. He hadn't spoken to his brother in over 30 years. They fought over something that now feels too small to even name. Charles said he never wanted to bring it up again, that it was better left in the past. But every year, on his birthday, he'd stand at the edge of his driveway and stare at the mailbox, just in case he sent something. He once confessed. The words he never said? I'm sorry. And even deeper than that, I miss you. So one day he wrote a letter, not to send, just to write. He read it aloud to the oak tree in his backyard. And then, something inside him unclenched. That was the first night I slept through, he told me, in 6 years. You see, the power isn't in whether someone hears you. The power is in finally hearing yourself say it. This is why Buddhist monks often chant aloud. Not because the gods need to hear, but because the heart does. So here's your small challenge today. Write one sentence. To someone. To yourself. Something you've never said. Not because you weren't allowed to, but because you were too kind or too afraid. You don't have to share it. But if you do, even anonymously, you may find that someone else out there has been waiting to say the same thing. You are not the only one holding that sentence. You are not the only one who aches. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late, because the Buddha never promised freedom in some far-off world. He said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. So say it, even in a whisper, even if only the trees hear, even if only your bones understand. Let the truth leave your mouth and return to the silence it came from. That silence will not punish you. It will hold you. Stay for the next truth, because it may be the one that changes everything. When you realize the stillness you feared is the home you've been searching for all along. But for now, I ask, what is one word you've never said aloud, but wish you could? Share it in the comments or write it in your journal. Let it breathe. It's waited long enough. Truth 6, the silence that becomes home. At first, the silence felt like punishment, pressed in around you too loud, too empty. You tried to outrun it, with TV, with to-do lists, with conversations that filled the air but never touched your soul. But now, the silence feels different. It's not empty anymore. It's full of presence, of breath, of everything that was once drowned out by noise. And somewhere in that stillness, something inside you softens. You sit in your chair, tea cooling beside you, no phone in hand, no plan ahead, just your breath, the creak of wood, the light shifting across the floor. And in that moment, you realize you are not alone. You are with yourself, fully, quietly, completely. In Buddhist teachings, this state is not seen as isolation, but as steady, mindful presence, a return to what's always been here, beneath the stories, beneath the identities. The Buddha often retreated into forests, not to escape others, but to hear the voice that only speaks when all else is still. You've begun to hear that voice too. Speaks not in words, but in feelings. Warmth in your chest when a breeze brushes your cheek. Tears that rise suddenly, not from pain but from knowing. A strange, delicate joy in doing nothing at all. You've crossed a quiet threshold. Solitude is no longer something you endure. It's something you inhabit. And this is the moment where everything begins to change. Not externally, but internally. The fear of being alone transforms into the grace of being complete. Think of the lotus flower. It blooms from the mud, not despite it, but because of it. The silence you once dreaded, that was your mud. And now, slowly, you're blooming. Not loudly, not for show, just gently, for yourself. There's a woman named Rosa. She's 81, lives alone in a small house at the end of a quiet street. Her son visits once a month. The neighbors wave but don't really talk. She told me, "I used to cry every night. Then one day I lit a candle, sat down and said out loud, 'Okay, let's just be here together. Me and the quiet.' And since then, every evening, she lights that candle again. Not for anyone else, just for herself. She calls it her soft hour. You can have that too. You don't need rituals or perfect cushions or incense from a monastery. You just need presence. Here's a simple practice. Sit for 2 minutes. No agenda, no distraction, just you and the breath. First, it may feel strange, too slow, too empty, but give it time. You'll begin to feel something ancient stirring, a knowing, kindness, a remembering. That silence you feared, it was never your enemy. It was your mirror, and now it's your home. Stay with me for one more truth, because the last one is the arrival. The moment everything comes together. The moment where loneliness dissolves into a kind of freedom you never expected. But for now, before we move on, I'll ask you this. What's one quiet moment that surprised you with peace? Was it a walk? A sunset? A breath? Share it below. Someone might be waiting to hear that silence. Isn't so scary after all. Truth 7, the freedom found in being alone. You thought freedom would come when people returned. When the phone rang more. When someone reached out first. When you were seen again. But freedom didn't come from any of that. Came quietly, without ceremony, without applause. One morning, you woke up and realized you weren't waiting anymore. You brewed your tea slower. You opened the curtains not to greet anyone, but to feel the light on your face. And in that soft, ordinary moment, you arrived, not at someone else's doorstep, not back to who you used to be, but here, to yourself, fully, finally. No masks, no roles, no need to be anyone but the soul breathing in that exact second. This is the freedom no one talks about, not the loud kind, not the kind they sell in books or photos with plane tickets and promises, but the kind that blooms when you stop needing the world to echo back your worth. In Buddhism, this is the moment of non-grasping. You stop reaching, you stop chasing, you stop hoping silence will end, and start living inside it. You are no longer afraid to be alone. You are no longer waiting for the empty chair to be filled, because you've become your own presence, your own companion, your own light in the hallway when night falls and the world forgets to call. There's a story in the Zen tradition. A student asks the master, "When will I find peace?" The master smiles and replies, "When the walls stop needing to speak, that's where you are now." The walls don't speak, but the stillness does, and it says, "Welcome home. You survived the ache. You walked through the quiet. You let the grief settle and didn't rush it away. And now you dance, even if only in your mind. You hum. You sit on the porch and watch the wind move the leaves. And none of it is lonely anymore, because you are no longer missing from your own life. You are not fading. You are arriving, softly, boldly, one breath at a time. So let this be your small vow, that you will not abandon yourself even when others do, that you will tend to your own garden, even if no one comes to admire it, that you will keep lighting your inner lantern, even when the path is unclear, because someone somewhere is still afraid of the silence. And when they see your light, they'll know it's survivable. And maybe, just maybe, they'll begin too. So now I ask, what does your freedom look like? Now that you no longer need to be needed? Is it a song you sing to yourself? A walk you take with no destination? a single moment where you feel whole. Share it below, not to prove anything, but to mark the beginning of your truest life yet. Before the world gave you names, before it called you mother, father, spouse, worker, helper, before any role or title, you were already whole. You were a breath. You were a presence. You were enough. And even now, beneath the layers of years of loss, of waiting, you still are. Loneliness is not a flaw. It's not a failure to fill your life with people or plans. It's a space that calls you back to the only companionship that never leaves. Your own quiet presence. That is the gift Buddhism offers. Not an escape, not a fix, but a returning to the breath, to this chair, to this moment, where nothing is missing and no one is forgotten. You've been here all along. So, as you rise from this video, or rest a little longer in its warmth, I invite you to carry just one thing, a softness, a small light in your chest that says, I'm still here, a whisper that reminds you. Solitude isn't the absence of love. It's the space love finally has to breathe. And if this spoke to the part of you the world no longer asks about, hit subscribe. Not for me, for you, for this weekly return to stillness, to truth, to home. Now I'll leave you with one final question. What part of you has returned home tonight? Share it in a comment, or simply breathe with it in silence. You're not fading. You're arriving, one sacred breath at a time.